Hi, my name is Lauren Hammerman, and I would like to talk to you today about reproductive justice. Reproductive justice is something that is not commonly talked about and needs clearly more attention and action more than ever. Issues like population control, sterilization, birth control, safe birth practices, abortion, and so much more are commonly chalked up to being a woman's only issue. And this is not the case. Reproductive justice is for everyone. For my Justice Manifesto, I want more equality and acceptance of others. I do not believe that the government should have the ability to set population control sanctions on its people. According to the article written by Suzanne Greenenhall, entitled Globalization and Population Governed in China, the population control sanctions have greatly affected the male population. They are having trouble finding brides and wives, families, and this is only something that is natural. Everyone wants to feel loved and to come home to someone. I also believe that with the new reproductive technologies that we have come to today, one should not have the ability to set or have control of choosing the gender of one's child. Women have been historically oppressed by men for years, and if we change the male to female ratio, how is that going to affect voting, our political system, socially? I mean, these are large implications that we do have to think of, and if China is already struggling with this issue, do we want to make this a more globally accepted idea? I also believe that one should have the ability and access to forms of birth control as well as abortions. We need to protect women's mental and physical health by allowing her to choose what she believes is right for her body. And if that's abortion, then she should have the right to access a safe and sterile environment to do so. Women and men are both a part of the baby making process, allowing for both of them to think about different ways or different methods of birth control. Male birth control needs to be more federally funded and greater access to the male population. They are a part of this process and they should have a word and say if they choose, as well as hopefully this eliminating the kind of stigma around birth control is a woman's only issue and she has to figure that out. Well, it takes two to tango, buddy, so you're in that conversation as well. I also would like to have more federal funding and access to forms of surrogacy, specifically for the LGBTQ plus community, but I would want open access for surrogacy for everyone in all 50 states. I do have some stipulations with that, however. I want it to be heavily regulated. I think it should be federally funded. There needs to be clear contracts, background checks, contracts to make sure that everyone is safe and protected during this process. The documentary A Mother's Dream shows you a quick little glimpse into the world of surrogacy in India regarding these women living in hostels and how countries in Europe are banning surrogacy, forcing those who cannot have children into forming and searching for different ways of obtaining surrogacy. One of those ways is in India, where these poor women are not able to feed their families or want better lives for their families and are forced into these kind of surrogacy hostels where they provide for their families by giving birth to these white babies for white families, which what is that saying for these women in India is that all that they can have? And by allowing more access to surrogacy and safer methods, we can prevent the public shaming that is happening in India. These women who are only wanting best for their families are being shamed by their communities and they don't want to return back. I think that the African American community here in America can understand and relate to a bit of that. Systemic racism here in America is disgusting and is so prevalent and is coming out in our news channel every day. And due to systemic racism, African American women are under this constant pressure, which is wearing and tearing down on their bodies, leading to higher rates of premature and underweight babies. This documentary called The Bow Breaks, according to them, the college-educated African American women per 1,000 births, they have 10.2 baby deaths. But for white college-educated women, they only have 3.7 baby deaths. The stress is causing these women's uteruses to swell, making the pressure on the baby and the likelihood of premature and underweight babies so more prevalent. This is such a problem. Systemic racism here in America needs to end, period. The equality of people needs to be risen, and if we can talk about racism and end that bigger social issue, the implications on the reproductive abilities of these women will greatly improve and allow these communities to flourish even more. Safe birth practices here in America are also struggling, and we call ourselves the greatest country in the world, yet we are so far on the bottom of the totem pole of safe birth practices, which is clearly just not acceptable. For my Justice Manifesto, these will all change. These are my main points that need to have action immediately. Thank you so much.